All right, everybody, I have just a few minutes past 3:30. We have a lot of people logging on to this webinar, so just want to make sure everybody is on and ready to go. My name is Eric Hayden. I'm a meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Newport, Morehead City. Biggest update with this is our first official snowfall map that fully captures all of Sunday. So this is our first projected snowfall map. Also, extreme cold watch issued for most of eastern North Carolina. We've talked about the snow, but also emphasizing the cold weather as well, and still concerned impacts lasting into majority of next week, that hazardous wind chills, blowing, drifting snow, and also heavy snow Saturday night and Sunday morning especially. And that's why we still have that winter storm watch in effect. If confidence continues to increase as expected, these would probably be upgraded later tonight to a warning. We'll have those updates with our briefing on Friday morning, and we'll certainly send that out to you. A couple things, not a lot changed with this map. Really highlighting the highest threat would be Saturday evening into Sunday morning. Could see snow as early as prior to daybreak on Saturday. And we've mentioned this before. I'm going to talk about this on our snow total map. There could still be some dry air mixing in, especially on the western edge. Could be a lull, maybe scattered at times during the day on Saturday, depending on where you're listening. In addition, could have some rain, especially toward the Outer Banks on the front edge of this storm. No matter what happens, eventually we go to all snow and it becomes heavy Saturday night into Sunday. So that's why we have that hot pink shading for the highest impact for snow, wind, coastal flooding. We're going to talk about that at the end of this video. If you're watching from folks Dare County, Ocracoke Island, Hatteras Island, very concerned with coastal flood threat as well. And then that cold all weekend into early next week. Any snow that we get will certainly linger into next week as well. This is what everybody's been paying attention to, or is wanting to know, the exact snowfall forecast. This is our first official forecast, still highlighting that rates may exceed an inch or two per hour Saturday night through Sunday morning. During that time, we could have whiteout conditions, travel treacherous, potentially life-threatening. The strongest winds will be areas closer to the coast and exposed areas to a north wind. That's where we could have some blowing and drifting snow. So you see the amounts. We've talked about probabilities, and now this is our first official forecast. What do we see on this map? That lighter shading of orange, that's an 8 to 12 inch range of snowfall across that area. As it stands right now, it is 3:33 Thursday afternoon. The highest probability, if we were to see more than a foot of snow, would be in that darker shade area, roughly from eastern Onslow County through part of Craven County, most of Carteret, through Oriental, Belhaven, and through the northern Outer Banks, as of 3:33 Thursday afternoon. Could this fluctuate a little bit? Yes, we're very confident in eastern North Carolina, there will be a heavy band of snow. These are often quite narrow and extremely hard to predict. So this map may end up being a little tighter with the gradient. It may shift around a little bit. So if you're anywhere listening to this, you're at risk for more than a foot of snow. This is what we have as of now. We may make some fine tunes and some adjustments as we get towards Saturday. The other thing I want to talk about, there's some concern with drier air moving in on the west. We've mentioned this the last couple days. The storm is many parts coming together. We talked about this going all the way back to Monday. One piece is coming through the Ohio Valley. Eventually, a storm will really intensify off our coast. As that transfer of energy happens, in between, especially in the western part of our area, we may see a lull in precipitation. That's why, for now, we have slightly lower amounts than we do areas to the east. We'll continue to adjust those amounts. If that doesn't happen, if it happens the way we think, those amounts are really, really good, we can go up or down depending on the trend with that. So that's something we're watching. As of now, the highest threat for the heaviest snow is in that darker shading of orange, but really everybody at risk for more than a foot. And we'll make some of those adjustments. Those pieces are still coming together. And if we were to see some of that drier air getting in, it would be in that western part of our area from kind of Kenansville up through Williamston. But just want you to look at the ranges, 8 to 12, solid across the majority of our area, and that darker shading of orange as of now stands the best chance for more than a foot. Could this adjust to the south and west? Could it tighten up? Could it shift around? It certainly could. And that's why we want to show you this map. This is a reasonable worst case scenario. A couple things to pay attention to on this. Your eyes are drawn toward the darker shading of red. That is where the highest probability on this graphic is for a worst case scenario of snowfall. Other maps show it across northeast North Carolina. Other ones have it kind of in a southwest to northeast orientation, roughly either side of Highway 17. The point of this map is not to say Duplin County is most at risk for the worst case and Kitty Hawk is not. It's to show you that in the realm of possibility, 8 to 12 is most likely for the majority of our area, more than a foot locally. That's the most likely scenario. Could somebody see 15, 16, 17, 18 inches of snow? Yes. Anywhere you hear this, that is possible. Right now it's depicted in the far southwest, but that area could easily dry out as that energy transfers toward the coast. So incredibly difficult forecast. The one I want you to pay attention to is the most likely, and that's the one that we showed you here off the beginning. This is the most likely projection as of 3:35 on Thursday afternoon. And the worst case is just to show you what could happen wherever those narrow bands of heavy snow set up. Other thing I want to mention, we've mentioned this for the last day or so, really hard to get blizzard conditions. We'll have a graphic on that at the end. But if we see blizzard conditions, it would be most likely over the Outer Banks, down east, Carteret County, open areas toward the Albemarle Sound, Pamlico Sound, exposed areas where we could get some of those wind gusts more consistent with the falling snow and also the blowing and drifting snow as well. This is a concern. We advise against travel this weekend. Deep snow may strand people that try to go out. Those are very high values for our area, especially with our lack of equipment that we usually have, in other areas farther north in the western part of the state. So could see snow-covered roads for a while. Overnight lows in the teens early next week. Daytime highs eventually getting into the 40s, but if we have that much snow on the ground and we're getting below freezing at night, it's going to take a while to get rid of this snow. So please keep that in mind. Exposure to cold is one of the biggest killers in winter storms. That can happen with people becoming stranded, or it could also happen if we have any scattered power outages because of our wind. Wind chill values, bitterly cold. Sunday morning, the lowest values below 0. And then you can see it lasts into early next week, getting values in the teens and 20s. Still very, very cold, especially if you're stranded outside or if you're at home without power because of a power outage. So please stress the cold just as much as the snow. We know the snow certainly gets attention, but the cold is very noteworthy as well. In addition to the cold and the snow, we kind of highlighted it with potential blizzard conditions in our eastern areas. Very, very strong winds, especially on the Outer Banks. We've got gusts continued over 60 miles per hour. That is going to cause some sound side and ocean side potential for some coastal flooding issues. But notice farther inland, Greenville, Kenansville, New Bern, even those areas, you're talking gusts over 30 miles per hour. So if you're in a rural area, you've got fields, those roads are going to be drifting over. So even if they get any type of clearing going on them, they may recover with the wind picking up and kind of blowing it around. And on the temperatures, if you're away from the coast, most of us are actually going to be in the 20s and also in the teens. So it's going to be more of a powdery snow, not the best for snowmen making or snowball making, things like that, but also much more likely to drift and blow around and reduce visibilities. The other thing, with those type of wind speeds, I know we're in hurricane country, but you can get some isolated power outages when you get winds, especially of that magnitude. With the winds, initially northeast, then gradually shifting into the northwest as we get into Saturday night and Sunday. Still very concerned with coastal flood potential. Starting to look at guidance. We're starting to get into the range where we're going to fine tune this forecast. At this point, the messaging remains the same. Moderate to locally significant impacts likely. Both ocean side, very large breaking waves from the storm itself, and then sound side, as our winds are pretty much out of the north and then eventually northwest, starting to pile that water up down towards Sound side, Ocracoke Island, and also Hatteras Village as well. We do think travel may be impacted, especially vulnerable sections on Highway 12 on Hatteras and Ocracoke Islands. Hope to refine that forecast, but for now, that's a very good one as of Thursday afternoon. So we're almost the day before, folks. I'm sure I haven't been out of this office in a while, but I'm sure the stores are packed. I know people are preparing. Continue to do so. The other thing I want to start to stress as we get into the storm itself, as this happens, make sure you're checking on those family members that live locally. Make sure you're checking on the elderly, people maybe you associate with via church, your neighbor that lives down the street, they're alone and they don't have a family nearby. Those are the folks you want to check on. We want to make sure everybody's okay through the storm. We've weathered many hurricanes, so we can certainly weather a snowstorm. We just have to be smart about it, not being on the roads, making sure we had food, water, medicine to get us into next week, not running low on things like prescriptions. And then the elderly neighbor that lives down the street that doesn't have family, how are they doing? Do they know about the storm? Have they been prepared? If we lose power, check on them, make sure they have a way to stay warm. So it's all about taking care of our neighbors. We do this during hurricanes. We just have to adjust and now do it in the month of January, a little bit different. I know some folks have asked about the blizzard criteria, so we wanted to put a graphic on that. Very, very hard to get blizzard criteria. Meteorologically, it's 35-mile-per-hour winds and visibility less than or equal to a quarter-mile visibility for 3 hours. Hard to get that. Most likely would be in our coastal areas, again, open exposed areas to the Pamlico Sound, Atlantic Ocean, nearby waterways, open fields, things like that. Regardless, no matter where you're listening from, even if we don't meet criteria, we're going to have blowing and drifting snow with temperatures in the 20s and teens, a fluffy, powdery snow, and those snow depths certainly have us concerned. We're going to wrap things up, and then we're going to turn it over to you. Weather.gov/forecast points. Weather.gov/forecast points. You can find some specifics. When is the snow going to start? How much? What will the wind speed be? A lot of very, very good information on this site.